Hey there, welcome back after my little tirade yesterday, which I'm going to continue on that theme today, but not quite as tiradeable. And for the record, I found this out, I used less than 27 seconds of that song, so apparently I can do that without violating copyright laws, but I couldn't think of a better song than Twisted Sister doing We're Not Going to Take It Anymore for the subject I'm proposing here. So let's have a little run at this. And just for the record, I haven't had a haircut, it's just been washed just again. So I want to start this by establishing a premise here. And that's the difference between a wordsmith and a spin doctor. Because wordsmithing, I think, has been a long-time honorable profession. It's taking words and enhancing something. Versus the spin doctor, who takes words and twists the message so that it's either uninterpretable or on the surface conveys a different message than what is really there. And we see that a lot these days in politics. They seem to have invented, in some ways, their own language. So, with that said, I wanted to differentiate between wordsmithing and spin doctoring. To really be able to differentiate between those two things, you have to use a little bit of critical thinking skills. And in order to use critical thinking, that means you have to listen to the message and not just the words. We're living in a world now where a tweet on Twitter is 144 characters, and that's the level of detail. If you don't pursue more detail than that, you're never going to really get the message. So when a politician or a spokesperson for government is saying something, listen to the message, not just the words. And we're going to get into why now. One of the reasons that I think this is really important is because I think in some ways we're losing critical thinking skills in this country. They're not encouraged. And anytime you try to raise an issue like that, at least with me, some of the comments I make on various news stories, the minute you mention critical thinking, you're a leftist pinko, whatever. It's the right wing are really hard that way. But to really be informed, you have to exercise a bit of critical thinking. And this whole situation right now going on in Alberta and BC and other areas, but regarding the death of children in care, there's a lot of spin doctoring, from my perspective, going on here. Now, to me, this isn't rocket science. It doesn't take a lot of critical thinking skills to realize, and I'm quoting here, I'm quoting out of the CBC News, last year in British Columbia there were 93 deaths of children in care compared to the 6 reported in Alberta. Well, it doesn't take like I said, a rocket scientist to look at those two figures and think, well, one of them is really out of whack. Why this number, even proportionally, that's almost impossible. And yet we're being told there's 6 in that newspaper, and yet in the report from the committee there was only 5. So the numbers are being played with all the time. What are the numbers? What are the criteria for this? It's, again, not a lot of heavy critical thinking skills there, but enough that you should give it some thought and start to question. The NDP have been questioning that in Alberta recently. In a CBC News post on July 6th, NDP MLA Rachel Notley, sorry, I really don't know who Rachel is, but she's with the NDP in this province, and to quote her out of the paper, just a quick little aside here. Understand this is Alberta, so when having NDP in government is right up there. That's kind of akin to finding livers and onion in high steakhouse and all that. The Alberta NDP said Wednesday that they then break down whether it's due to natural causes, whether it's due to injury, whether it was due to criminal activity. We don't get that in Alberta. Notley said Alberta Children and Youth Services doesn't report the deaths of children who die from natural causes, nor provide a clear definition of what a child in care is. Well, you know, that's not good enough, and I'm not sure what constitutes natural causes for a 10-year-old, because there's nothing natural about the death of a 10-year-old or a 4-year-old or a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old. So what does this province call natural causes? I'd really like to hear Minister Fritz answer that question. I guess the other thing that is a concern to me, here we are in 2011. Children have been going into care for God knows how long. And when I read a statement in the paper where a politician is stating that, and I'll read this directly, I already said part of it before, but I'm going to read this directly. Notley said Alberta Children and Youth Services doesn't report the death of children who die from natural causes, nor does it provide a clear definition of what a child in care is. Well, you know, my God, if after how many years of putting kids into foster care, this government still doesn't know what the definition of a child in care is, then where have they been for the last 100 years? That's beyond belief to me. But again, I don't know if this is wordsmithing or spin doctoring. Because if we have a government who is putting children in care, and they're dying in care, which does happen. I'm not blaming anybody. Children do die in care. That's especially children with disabilities. That's the nature of a disability. Sometimes you die young, but when they die in care, and families are cut out of the process, and families are unable to obtain any information over what brought this death about, and these figures are excluded from public, from public figures. Then there's something very wrong with the government. That's spin doctoring. I don't want a government that spins. I want a government that might use some wordsmithing so that the details are there, but not reporting it all, or covering it up, or hushing people, slapping gag orders on people, coming into your house and taking your children without any notice. That's not good government. That is not indicative of a government that's there for the citizens of that province or that country. Anyway, that's it for now. I'll talk with you later.